Hey, what's going on everybody? It's ETA Prime back here again. Today we're going to be taking a look at the all-new Hyper Megatech Super Pocket consoles. Now these are actually coming to us from the creators of Evercade, Blaze Entertainment, and at the time of making this video they have two versions, the Taito version, which comes with 18 preloaded games, and the Capcom version. This is the one I've actually been using for the last week or so. This comes with 12 preloaded arcade games, and these are the real arcade ports, or the arcade ROMs on here. Some of these companies who put out these smaller pocketable handhelds usually say, hey, we got a bunch of arcade games, but then when you boot it up, it's actually like the Nintendo or SNES version of that game, which sometimes isn't horrible, but I personally like having the arcade version, and that's what we have here with both of these Super Pockets. Now, aside from these preloaded games, we do have the option to insert the Evercade cartridges here, so there's actually over 500 different games that'll work with this handheld. And I've had my hands on basically all of the Evercade consoles that have released. I've almost got the complete collection of cartridges, so we will test them out here. But like I mentioned, I've been using this Capcom version for the last week, and I've had an absolute blast with it. As the name states, it is super pocketable, battery lasts for about 4 hours, and it's got a 2.8-inch IPS display. Now, one of the things I was worried about when just taking a look at this, online was the D-pad itself. But I assure you, this D-pad actually works out much better than it looks, especially for your favorite fighting games. You can pull off your special moves quite easily. Now, jumping right into the Capcom Edition, like I mentioned, this does have 12 preloaded games, and we've actually got some really good stuff here. Street Fighter II, Strider, Mercs, 1942, 1943, 1944. We've also got Bionic Commando, Captain Commando, Final Fight, Forgotten Worlds, Ghouls and Ghosts, and Mega Man. So we've got 12 great games here, but don't forget we can always add an Evercade cartridge. Middle button here is the menu button. If we had a cartridge installed, we could start playing our games directly from there, but we're going to head back to the settings because we've got a few things that we can actually mess around with. From display, we can change the aspect ratio, and we can do this inside of a game also. Plus, we've got a scan line section here. Subtle scan lines or strong. I personally like the subtle scan lines, and I think they've done a good job with these. We'll take a look at all of this in action in just a bit. From volume, master volume, menu music, we can totally mute that, and menu sound volume. We can also change the overall menu language, change the difficulty from easy to normal, but we've got free coins here. Basically, while you're in game, press select. You can add more coins anytime you want. So usually I just stick with normal. We've also got some legal and credits from here, but the main claim to fame is actually the gameplay itself. This thing handles these games perfectly fine. And we're going to go with Street Fighter II. Load right into the game. And once we're here, we can actually hit our settings button. This way we can move in and change the aspect ratio and add scan lines if we want to. With the Super Pocket, we do get a 4:3 aspect ratio display, and with the display set to original, a lot of this scales up perfectly fine, but you can always go to pixel perfect if you want to. We'll bring the scale down just a bit, not much at all, and we're not working with a huge display already, so personally I like original, or you could go to full screen. Again, it's not going to stretch it out or anything like that because we've already got a 4:3 aspect ratio here, which is perfect for these older arcade games. Another thing we can add are scan lines. And I know it's going to be a bit hard to see here, so let me go ahead and take a few pictures for you. On the very left, no scan lines. Right in the middle, we've got those subtle scan lines. And on the far right-hand side, we've got the strong scan lines. To tell you the truth, with this screen here being 2.8 inches, I personally kind of leave them off, but they don't look bad, especially the subtle ones if you want to add them in. Okay, so getting into a little bit of gameplay, you're not going to get any kind of skipping or anything like that. We've got plenty of power here for these older arcade games. And the first thing I noticed when this popped up online was the D-pad. I'm still not a fan of the look. I actually don't even like the feel of it, but it works really well. Kind of surprised here. Would love to see one of these with a traditional D-pad, but they didn't just go out and slap a crap D-pad in here. They did a little bit of research, and yeah, we can pull our special moves off just fine with this thing. And in order to get back to the main menu, we're just going to hit our settings button right in the middle here. Plus, we've got 6 save slots for each of these games. And once we save it, it actually does take a screenshot so you know exactly which save you're working with. I wanted to show off at least one more Capcom game running on this, and this is one of my favorite arcade games of all time. This is Captain Commando, and yeah, I always choose Baby Commando every time I play this game. With what we've got preloaded on the Capcom version, personally, I do think this is the best one right now. But, you know, if you're into the older arcade games, we've also got the Taito version. And I actually like the color scheme of the Taito version a little more. I think it just pops a little better. But, you know, with the Capcom, we've got that Capcom Yellow and Capcom Blue. So it's kind of unmistakable. With this Taito version, we've got that black against what I call seafoam. I just think it does look a lot better. And with the Taito version, we do get more games. This actually has 18 preloaded: Bubble Bobble, Kadash, Crack and Pop, Don Duco Dawn, Elevator Action, Football Champ, Growl, Kiki Kai Kai, Liquid Kids, Operation Wolf, Puzzle Bobble, Rastan, Space Invaders 91, The Fairy Tale Story, The Legend of Cage, The New Zealand Story, and Volfied. There's probably a lot of my viewers in the US who haven't heard of a lot of the games that we just went over with the Taito version. That's one of the big reasons I do recommend the Capcom version. If I was to put a list up of these games versus Capcom, the Capcom games would definitely be more recognizable to more people. But we've still got a lot of really fun games here, like the Bubble Bobble series and Liquid Kids. Actually really like this game here. But of course, we can always expand our collection with the Evercade cartridges. Both of these will accept all of these cartridges here, and I've just got a few on the table. Over 500 games have been released. I'm not exactly sure how many cartridge packs have been released. I've got a bunch of them. This isn't my full collection. I just grabbed a few off the shelf just to show you here. And if you're not familiar with these, they're really cool because we do get a little booklet here, and each of the games will be listed with the controller scheme, gives us a little bit of information about the game. The kids have definitely been messing around with these because we've got the wrong cartridge in here. But we've got physical media. And to get this set up, super easy. We're going to slide out the dummy cartridge. Just put a new one in here. Right from the menu, what we're going to do is hit our settings button, Evercade, load it up. It's going to load all of the games we have on that cart. Now, I know there's some people out there that aren't into this, but I personally find it kind of charming that there's still a company out there giving us physical media for these retro games. And in the end, it really comes down to the collectability of it all for me. With the Capcom Edition, I'm going to go with the Namco collection. Not exactly sure which collection this is, but we do have Splatterhouse 3, so I wanted to get into that one real quick. I know it's not going to make a huge difference to anything, but I was personally really interested to see what CPU this thing's running. Now, the way this thing is put together, really nice. The whole front kind of pops out of the back shell, just 4 screws. Everything is really kind of modular here. We need to get the main board off of the screen and button assembly up front, so we've got 4 more screws. And once we get that, we will need to disconnect the screen from the main board. And I probably should have just went ahead and unplugged this speaker also. But I think we can get everything out of here without hurting it. And there we have it. So we do have this shield over the CPU, RAM, and storage. So let me pop that off. And here it is. So I'm personally not going to do any research on the RAM and storage here. If you want to look it up, post it in the comments, totally up to you, but this will be our storage device. Of course, we need a little storage to hold the games that are preloaded. RAM amount doesn't have to be that much. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if this was 256 megabytes, but it looks like the CPU they opted to use here is the Rockchip Arcade 3126C. It's a quad-core ARM SoC at up to 1.2 gigahertz as far as I can tell. Not a super powerhouse, but it does offer plenty of performance for the games that we're going to be running on this, be it the preloaded or even any of the cartridge games that they have on the market right now. Overall, I've personally been having a lot of fun with these Super Pocket consoles. Now, if you're already into the Evercade ecosystem, you've got a few carts, then this would be awesome to pick up. It'd be an awesome stocking stuffer also. They do sell them over on Amazon. I believe they're listed over there for $59. And if you're interested in picking one up, or maybe even just learning a little more, I'll leave some links down below. But that's going to wrap it up for this video. Really appreciate you watching. Definitely not for everybody, but there is a market for consoles like this out there. If you've got any questions, let me know in the comments. And like always, thanks for watching.